Where do you see Liverpool at the moment in their development?
Well, I think they've made a good start. I mean, what a boost that was, by the way, to win at Stoke. But I think they've been weakened, haven't they, over a period of time? And I think this season is going to be an interesting one, a pivotal one. I think the window and how sort of Liverpool come out the other side is perhaps, you know, defining for the club moving forward, and also for Brendan Rodgers. There's so much focus on him, and he's got such a difficult start. But I think that, you know, Bournemouth at home Monday night, you would expect them to win that game, and all of a sudden they've got 6 points on the board, and it's a really good platform to build from. I do slightly wonder whether sort of everything's going to work, and you have to give them credit for going back towards Lovren to try and make that work. You can't just write that off. And so I thought he played well at Stoke, and then kind of, you know, Milner, will he work week in, week out as a central midfielder? I think only time will tell us that, but I think it's a really interesting season for them. Some of their business, I think, has been good. And, you know, Balotelli is a bit of a sore on the landscape, isn't he, really? I mean, it's such an embarrassment for them. But
a nice payday for staying there.
Well, it's fantastic, isn't it? And he's going to want to see out the window. And then all of a sudden it becomes a major issue. I think there's going to be so much pressure on them to finish in the top four. And I look at that squad, and I'm not sure whether they can do that. If they can pull that off, then I think that'll be an amazing achievement from Rodgers.
I was surprised that the bookies made Rodgers the favourite to be the first manager to be sacked there, because I mean, you know, we have got very short memories in the Premier League, and he masterminded a fantastic season the season before last, and then last season, you know, they sold Suarez. He's without Sturridge for most of the season.
Sterling's gone.
Sterling was clearly sort of struggling towards the end of the season. You know, he's not had it easy. He didn't have it easy, and I think he's an exceptional manager. And I think I'm glad, obviously, that they stuck with him after that Stoke defeat. And I think it is going to be a difficult time for him at the beginning of this season. I agree with John. I think if you get 6 points on the board, that run of games that they've got coming up, that might tide them through that. And I think they've done okay with their summer signings, and I think that they will. You know, it's going to be a bit of a climb back, and I don't think they'll finish top four this season. But I do think that Rodgers, they need to stick with Rodgers. And
we don't often go into the personal lives of managers, but there was interesting pieces during the week about his personal life being fraught for the last few years, but still he's performed his job well. I mean, when things like that settle down, he lost his parents, didn't he, and so on and so forth. And when that all settles down for him, will he be a success, Sam?
I don't think anything's guaranteed. I mean, he's a good manager, and he's had some good players. This is the nature of management, I'm afraid. This is the defining season for him, and he's obviously well respected by a lot of his peers. I mean, when you hear Eddie Howe talk about him and how he sort of almost kind of mentored him for a while, he's obviously a very capable coach, but nothing can be guaranteed. And when you lose a job, if he was to lose a job like Liverpool, it's very hard. You know, it's very hard to get back to that stage. What I find interesting, though, about a lot of English managers or British managers is that we tend to, once they have a bad sacking, we tend to write them off. Whereas if you look at the careers of Benitez, even Arsene Wenger got relegated. You know, in France, these experiences tend to make them better. They tend to make them the men that they become when they're really successful. And I think that you know, be foolish to give up on Rodgers. Whatever happens at Liverpool, I think he'll have a very good career, and he'll get better and better as he gets older.
When you talk about like a defining season, that is an interesting point. That what do we consider? What do we consider? So if it's defining, what's success? Because
I think success is not getting beaten, not being 5-0 down at half-time to Stoke. It's not results like that. It's looking like that there's a team that's working. It's not looking like the whole thing was pivotal on Luis Suarez, and once he went, and Sturridge as well, I'll give you that. That's how it felt last season. That the buys didn't work out. I mean, Lovren did not work out. Markovic did not work out. And he's been given another summer to have another go at it, and I think he's brought quite well. But he has got about, I counted him up the other day, he's got, for those front six positions, if he's going to play this 4-3-3 formation, he's got 14 players, you know, and that's not including Balotelli and Barini, who everyone expects to go. So that's quite a, you know, working on the basis that you have two for each position, that's quite a lot of people to keep happy and to build a team when you think that, you know, Henderson's his captain, he's going to play, Milner's going to play, Coutinho's obviously, so then you really are perming a different team. It's quite difficult to pull the best team out of that. So he's got a lot of choice. I think obviously his net spend, because he sold Sterling, is not as great because he's made a lot of money. But I do feel that they have stuck by him. I mean, we talk about wanting to back British managers, and fair play to John Henry and Fenway Sports. They have stuck by him, but this is modern football, and you can only go so far without seeing progress. And then you think, well, maybe we need to make a change.
But to pick up Ollie's point, unless Liverpool finish top 4, it's not Liverpool, is it really?
It's not. I think because when you do so well in the season before last, you're a victim of your own success. I mean, they were magnificent that season, make no mistake. Not only did they go so close, Gerrard slip away from winning the league effectively, it was the style in which they played. They were brilliant. Their front three was absolutely fabulous, wasn't it? It was Suarez, Sturridge and, and Sterling, and they were great to watch. They were a joy, really. And I do think sometimes we forget that all too quickly. It's funny, isn't it? The background stuff that you're talking about, coming from, is in Mike Calvin's book, Living on the Volcano. And I thought it was a fascinating insight into several managers. I've read it this week, and it's a great book and a fabulous insight into Brendan Rodgers, his psyche, his kind of... I think sometimes, he wants to sort of portray this sort of image of himself. And I think sort of if you cut away the facade, there's a man determined to do well. And I think sometimes he's so obsessed with the image in a way, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, that I think if you do away with that, I think underlying he's a really good manager who's got so much to prove. But beyond that, and I think this is the message that came through in the book, really, is that so many British managers look upon him as their beacon. They want him to succeed, because if he can succeed at a great club like Liverpool, then he is the pathway, he is the inspiration. And I think that it goes beyond just trying to get Liverpool in the top 4, but it's also trying to sort of say that actually a British manager can succeed at a great club, a big club, and that will give more confidence to owners to give, big jobs to British managers. And so from that point of view, I think it's so important that he succeeds and kind of Liverpool stick with him.